Welcome to the Spiggle Law Firm podcast, where we help people who've been fired or afraid that they might be, and we discuss cutting-edge legal issues in the news. Today, I'm thrilled to be joined by one of our superstar attorneys, Samantha Vanterpool Rucker. Today, Samantha and I are going to be talking about harassment in the workplace and the recent EEOC guidance on that subject. But before we jump into that, a little small print here because, lawyers, this is not intended to be legal advice for you, nor does it create an attorney-client relationship with our firm. If you want either of those, you got it. You should go hire yourself a lawyer. So let's jump into it, Samantha. Let's talk about harassment and the EEOC.
Of course. I find that a lot of clients come to us and a lot of them are saying, well, I hate my job because I'm being harassed, I'm being targeted, I'm being bullied. And the unfortunate thing is that I have to tell them that not all harassment and bullying is unlawful or illegal. It might be unethical, it might be bad business practice, but it's not necessarily unlawful or illegal. And recently I came across an article where it says that the EEOC just issued guidelines as far as to help attorneys, employers, and employers know whether or not harassment is unlawful or illegal. It only becomes unlawful if it sort of infringes or you're in a protected class and they're harassing you, bullying you, or targeting you because of that protected class. And what was great about this guidance issued by the EEOC is it was real world examples. I'll give you for instance. For instance, they talked about race discrimination, the sort of harassment that's unlawful. And one of the things that they pointed out was the fact that in this case, we have a case where a manager is touching an African-American employee's hair, asking questions like, why is Black people's hair different? Why does it feel that way? Why is it messy? Why is it untamed? Why is it unprofessional? And the EEOC, nope, can't do that. That's illegal. That's unlawful. And in fact, I had a client who recently contacted me about that, where she felt just uncomfortable in the workplace because her manager was so focused on her hair. And the EEOC said that's unlawful. That's something that is not tolerated in the workplace. Other examples they gave, for instance, was religion, for instance. In this case, Sandra, she's a Christian. Her manager doesn't believe in Christianity. And of course, he's not going to tell her, I'm going to demote you, I'm going to terminate you because you're a Christian. In other ways, he finds other creative ways to sort of push her to the side, deny her opportunities. And he keeps track of all the employees who sort of subscribe to his belief system that Christianity is not great, it's terrible for society, etc. And as a result of that, Sandra begins to feel uncomfortable. It becomes what I hear a lot of clients say, a hostile work environment. And when your red flags sort of go off and you feel that the workplace is hostile, it's uncomfortable, there might be discrimination happening. And in this case, the EEOC said that you can't do that. You can't focus on an employee's religious beliefs to sort of determine whether or not they're in the right group or they're available for promotions or anything like that. And I find that that's one of the concerns that we get a lot. My religion tends to rub my manager the wrong way. And of course, we have to go through the analysis to see whether or not it's unlawful or not.
I think that's a great topic. Just so for folks that don't live this like we do, the EEOC is the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission. It's the big federal agency that enforces Title VII, which is the big federal anti-discrimination law, as well as the Americans with Disabilities Act and some other laws. And you can find it at eeoc.gov. You can find the guidance, but I think this is a fantastic topic because you're right, Samantha. We do see this a lot. Many workplaces are hostile for one reason or another. The question is it what we lawyers, the 25-cent legal word called actionable, right? Is this something, is the conduct something you can sue for? And I talk about, and I don't mean to overly discourage people, as you mentioned those examples, and we certainly see in our practice every day hostile work environments that are illegal. So I don't want to discourage people, but you raised an important point. Sometimes we get people, I call them the equal opportunity asshole defense. Like, you got a manager who is just being an a-hole to everybody. It's not based on race. It's not based on sex. It's not based on any other protected category. That's just how he or she rolls. And that's, of course, bad. We can all agree that's bad practice within a business. That's not a good manager. but that's probably not going to be a case unless you can show that a manager is harassing people or being an a-hole on the basis, like say, a protected class. Are they only doing it to Black people? Are only doing it to white men? Are they only doing it to people who are pregnant? And as you point out in that example, sometimes it's not. They don't come out and say that, right? I mean,
exactly.
Right. I mean, you wouldn't be surprised, but I think some people are surprised what people will say. Some people come right out and say it, why they're harassing folks. But a lot of people are more sophisticated than that. But that doesn't mean it's not something that it's illegal just because you haven't been fired or because you haven't been demoted. Managers can be diabolical in the way that they exercise that harassment. And you raised a great point of somebody who's just being sort of shoved aside, right? They're just not getting the opportunities that they used to have. So all those things can contribute to that. But I think that's a great example. And I know you see it a lot in your practice.
Yeah, that's what I tell people. If your manager is just being awful to everyone, your case probably isn't strong. But if you're able to say he's treating me differently because of my race, because of my gender, because of my sexual orientation, or the fact that I'm pregnant, then you might have a case there, and that's something we can help you with. But the guidelines also sort of put the burden upon the employer to make the place safe. Once harassment exists, it becomes the employer's responsibility to sort of correct that so that the harassment does not continue. And I really appreciate the fact that the EEOC went that extra mile to provide us with examples and to put the onus back on the employer to make the workplace safe and free of harassment.
Yeah, and that's exactly right. Another way that this guidance is useful is for people that come to us, we of course help them with their EEOC charges. But for those people who are going on their own, and it's entirely possible to go through, file a charge with the EEOC without an attorney. That's what the process is really designed for. It helps you understand how to frame your charge. What is it?
Exactly.
What is it that the EEOC is looking at? Like, use some of these examples. Of course, you can't make stuff up, but often we're looking at a complicated picture of what's happening in the workplace, and how you tell that story in the charge, can make the difference about whether or not the EEOC takes it seriously or bounces you out immediately. So it's a good guidepost to say, look at the EEOC's examples. And as you raise, the EEOC is really, yes, they are there to advise employers. That's a big part of their role, but they're very employee friendly. This is an agency that's designed to protect employees. So it's a good resource for people to use when they're filing that charge. Like, okay, what is the EEOC looking at here? What factors are important? And include those in your charge.
I absolutely agree. And I also tell people to provide dates, because dates are very, very important as far as, especially if you're going to claim retaliation. If because you complained to HR that your manager touched your hair, you didn't like it, you felt it was racially discriminatory, dates are very important, and stuff starts to happen after that where you don't receive a promotion, where your pay is docked, or for instance, you're denied an opportunity. The dates are very, very important. So get your facts straight and get your dates straight. And I think you can produce a solid complaint with the EEOC moving forward.
Yeah, and you raise we could do a whole separate podcast on this, but I think it's important, right, to the retaliation. It's important for people to know. You raise a good point and I think because it's often a continuum, so people don't recognize it. People aren't attorneys, don't recognize it as two separate claims, but they are separate claims. There's the claim you have for the hostile work environment, and if retaliation occurs, which we often see, right? Somebody's being harassed. They say something either to HR or to their manager. And unfortunately, not only does things not get better, a lot of times they get worse. And that is a separate claim, the retaliation claim. And it's important that you, like you said, include that on your charge, check off that box if you believe you've been retaliated against. Because, as you well know, Samantha, it's entirely possible to lose on the harassment claim and win on the retaliation, right? But not because you haven't been harassed, but because, like I said, it can be sometimes a difficult claim to win without the right facts. But so you could have a court or jury look at the facts and say, well, we don't think this rose to the level of a legal hostile work environment, but we do think you were retaliated against when you raised it with HR or with your manager.
Exactly. Absolutely agree with you, Tom.
All right. Anything else on this topic you want to talk about? I think it's a great one. I really encourage people to go to the EEOC website, check out that guidance. And as always, call us or another attorney. If you think that you're being, you are being experiencing an illegal hostile work environment, you don't have to hire an attorney to suit up and go against your employer. Just in a half hour or an hour, usually attorneys that do what we do can give you a good sense of whether or not, you're, in the territory that constitutes, illegal harassment.
Yeah, I just thought that I'll bring that topic up. The website is very friendly, user friendly to just go look stuff up for the attorneys and for the clients as well. But I think this is useful guidance, and I will always refer back to it. It's always helpful to have this information to just help our clients moving forward.
Yes. Well, I appreciate you taking your time, stepping away from your busy caseload and all the great work that you're doing. So I appreciate it, Samantha, and I'll let you hop off and we'll talk to you later.
Okay. Bye-bye.